welcome to another episode of Laying Down the Lore 40k, a lore podcast in which we aim to separate our Drukhari from our Dark Angels, our Tyranids from our Tau, and our Craft Worlds from our Chaos Marines, and generally ask, what's up with this Warhammer 40k stuff? My name is Ben Crone Barber, and I know pretty much fuck all about 40k. With me is my co-host Christopher Crowlin Allen,
Aha!
who knows absolutely fuck all about 40k.
Aha.
And my dear brother Darren,
Waaagh,
who knows so much about 40k, it's a wonder he has time to do anything else. That was terrible.
kill yourself.
Over the years, this dichotomy between our levels of understanding became clear, and this series is an attempt to address that ignorance. I really should stay in my lane, shouldn't I?
I'm just going to let my ignorance cat out.
There is nothing funnier to me than when someone says kill yourself as a comment on a video or so. It's so unbelievably funny.
Oh, you're one of those trolls.
Oh no, I would never do it. I think it's reprehensible, but also at the same time, just that it's the extreme overreaction to the smallest stimulant.
I love that you said that you would never do it. Yeah, you literally just did it in the middle of my intro.
I would never do it publicly. Oh, wait.
Oh.
I would never do it to your face. Hang on.
Dar, I've got something to tell you. For the last 3 years, I have been releasing these recordings into the wild. I know you thought these were just for fun, but yeah.
Hang on, let me put on my outside glasses. Oh, look at you.
What do your outside glasses do? Have they got windscreen wipers?
They let me see outside.
Okay.
Like I call them my faraways. So these are my reading glasses that are 10 inches thick, and these are my outside glasses, so I can see things beyond 6 feet.
Hold on. Are you both short-sighted and long-sighted?
Sounds like you don't need glasses at all.
Sounds like you need new eyes.
Kill yourself.
Fair. I'll take it. I will take that advice on board and consider it now. Right, before we move on, thanks to everyone that supports the show. We couldn't do it without you. We do it for you. No, we do it because it's hilarious. But
we do
thanks
it
everyone.
On you. No,
we do it under you. If you do want to. If you do want to support the show, you can join our Patreon for just £3. £3. When
£3?
£3, Kral. What could you get for £3?
Well, I didn't know what you get for £3, but I'll tell you what I would get for £3. I'd go straight on Patreon and support the show, mate. I've gone from Scottish to a little bit Geordie.
No, you didn't. You went from French to Geordie.
That was
ooh la la.
I do.
Sacre bleu!
In my head, or accents always seem to be in pairs for me. I'll start off doing like an Australian and end up like Jamaican. I'm like, how did I end up here? Okay. So
you may ask yourself,
EDL
how did you end up here? Huh?
Yeah, it can get quite touch and go. Don't even get. No, I'm not even going to say that. I was about to say, don't get me started on my my Irish to Pakistani. That is genuinely the direction that it goes. I start off as an Irish and end up as a Pakistani accent. Anyway,
hang on, and Irish,
yeah. Anyway, so what? Sorry, Crow. What did that £3 get you?
I don't know. I didn't understand myself, but it's great value. Come and join Patreon. £3 a month. Bada bing, bada bomb. Come on, join the fun. Join the Discord.
Get on Discord.
We're
on there. We're on there pretty regularly as well, so you can come and ask
speak for yourself. I'm kind of there. I'm there in spirit.
He's there in spirit. You're there in as much as we have somebody to tag when we're taking the piss out of you. That's
I am the comical punching bag. Come and join the comical punching bag Discord chat. That is
great.
Put Kral down.
And then Dar puts me down, I put Kral down, and then it doesn't work there. There's no full cycle.
The buck stops there. As the CEO, do you know what I mean? Like
nobody can put me down, mate. I've tried.
You are unput downable.
Especially at 95% Dar? Was that
Especially at 95 years old.
Ben, let's see if we can break Darren today. Let's get him to 120% Darren and just watch his head pop.
Have you got the isopropyl alcohol with you? Please take 7 large sniffs of that while we're Please use that as he's got a spray bottle, guys. Holy shit, he's just sprayed it in his face. What a mentalist. Okay, 6 more of those while we're doing the supporters thing.
Hang on, I've lost vision in my right eye.
It was shit anyway.
It was shit anyway. Yeah, you've lost mid vision now as well.
Hang on, I can see.
It's a Christmas miracle. So we also have a merch store. If you would like to support the show in other ways, you can head over to our website or to Redbubble and search Laying Down the Lore, and we've got lots of different merch, delicious merch with our logos and a selection of artwork that we've had made for the various ads that we have done. And if you're into the hobby, you can also head over to our Quartermaster page. The link is in the bio, and you will find links to our affiliates and support platforms. Support platforms are irrelevant to this part, but our affiliates sell all the stuff that you need for hobbies, like mini trees and mini bushes and other stuff as well.
Sorry, did anyone else see me flinch when you said mini bushes? I'm like,
Right, okay. Done.
I've got an idea for a product. Let me pitch it.
Go.
It's a range of small animatronic miniatures that tidy up your desk and reuse things where possible. Cockwombles.
Listeners, if you can see how entertained he is by this, I think that might be the isopropyl alcohol is kicking in. Please take one more spray. This is going to be like, this is going to be like that episode of Futurama where Fry drinks 100 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
So he'll by the end of it.
Time.
When Dar, so please take another spray, Dar. You're on 2 sprays now. By the end of this episode, we need to reach 7. At which point, we expect you to evolve.
Here's a question though: didn't we recently do an episode where we were encouraging people not to do drugs and solvents?
This is true, but this is not that episode.
1, you're not people, and 2, do drugs and insolvents.
Oh. There's number 2.
Excellent it's all over my right arm. Curse you, t-shirts.
And now I can see out of my right arm.
Oh, my ear's falling off. What?
Right, Cralligator. You know what time it is.
I can't do any more than 2. Holy shit.
Citizen of the Imperium, it's time for frontal lobotomy or bottle in front of me.
I tried to research, but I failed.
Why have you? That's cheating. You're not allowed to do that. We've talked.
Well, I failed at cheating, so I won't worry about it.
Good. Okay. Well, Randall has also failed at the questions because he's only sent me 2. So, Dart, we will need a third question. But okay. So, first of all, Kral, what did we cover in episode 26? Last episode.
Beginning of Orks, wasn't it?
It was Orks. Well done. Unfortunately, there's no points associated with that question.
Why?
It was a warm up. It was a warm up. I knew that you knew it. You knew that you knew it. We can move on. I was just setting the
right
the stage.
Okay.
Question number 1. Name 2 Ork tribes.
Tribes. The space snakebite tribe and the space.
I can see you looking around your screen. Stop looking around your screen.
Disappointment of Darren tribe.
No, my children aren't orcs.
Think celestial bodies, Kral.
Bad moon, good suns, evil suns.
Mate, you are. I swear to God, if you are on my answers thing, no, you can't be because it's on my own personal drive. Okay, well done, mate. Yeah, so blood X's, snake bites, bad moons, evil suns. Were there more?
But with the space prefix.
Death skulls.
Yeah.
Because everyone needs to know that the sun and the moon are in space. The
Goths.
space bad moons.
Exactly. Okay.
Goths. Yeah.
Question number 2. Who are the richest tribe?
Oh, are they the teeth snatchers or the
No, but they had a lot of them.
dental masters or something like that? They deal in teeth, but
I'd go to a dentist that was branded as Dental Masters.
Yeah.
dental.
They sound like they know what they're doing.
I am the master of dentition. Gesundheit.
Yeah. You wouldn't go next door to dental amateurs, would you?
We did our best dentures.
The dabbling dentist, yeah.
We did our best dentures. Brilliant.
Teeth like that.
Apologies in advance. Dental surgery. I can't remember.
It was one of the 4 that we just mentioned. Take a guess. Blood axes, snake bites, bad moons, evil sons.
Blood axes?
No, it was the bad moons.
Bad moons. Okay.
The bad moons.
Okay, a redeeming point question. What color is associated with the bad moons?
Blue.
Okay, moving on. He got it wrong.
Okay.
Redemption redeemed.
He needs a third question anyway. Can that be it? Or do you want to come up with another one?
What is the original race thought to be named? The original greenskin race, what were they thought to be named?
What they thought to be named? Oh, it's on the edge of the periphery of my mind's eye.
Please stop edging on camera.
I give up. I do know this, though. I'm going to kick myself when you tell me.
Can I take a guess?
Go on.
Is it the Crocs or something?
The Krork.
Like
the Crocs.
The Crocs. Meet the Crocs.
Which Darren struggles to spell.
Meet the Crocs.
Meet the Crocs.
Right, okay. Well, you got 1 out of 3 there, Kral. Unfortunately, you've dropped percentages now. You've gone from 71 to 68. So,
Cool.
Lobotomy it's on.
It's ahead of me.
It's on the cards. It's on the cards.
Okay.
Yeah. If you had to, obviously the point of the lobotomy is to turn you into a monotask servitor. What task would you ideally like to do as a monotask servitor?
Constantly follow Darren and fail at WhatsApp recaps. Just be there.
So basically, just continue
be
as
myself.
You've been doing.
Yeah.
That doesn't really sound like a punishment for Kral.
Nor does it seem like a single task.
To be honest, if you were to be a monotask servitor, lobotomized or otherwise, you're probably clueless and mindless anyway, right? So it's not much of a punishment. It's not like you're self-aware. You're just...
But aren't there some instances where they are aware that, because it's criminals, isn't it? Or they're
trapped in their own body or something like that.
Are there instances where they're I don't know, the crime is considered so heinous that they would leave them with some sort of awareness?
No, in general, they get rid of all higher function, or they strip you down to one function. Like the archoflagellants of the ecclesiarchy are heretics who get turned into kind of living weapons, and so they run at their enemy with their arms replaced by kind of flails.
Yeah.
Whoa! But as I did this, I thought, well, they're a bit longer. They're not like here. Flailidamides?
Yeah. No, nice. I like it. Yeah. All right. Well done, Kral.
Cool. Can I go now?
Yes, you can go now, yeah.
Thank you.
You can continue your monotask work.
Ciao. Bye.
Right. Dar. Over to you. Bam.
He's put his law specs on.
Are those your mid-range specs?
These are my X-ray specs. These are my actual inside-outside glasses. Oh, look, a tree.
They're inside-out glasses.
Inside-out. So, as Chris eventually got to correctly, we did Orks last episode, and so just as a quick recap.
It was the first question he asked, and it's the first question I got right. No hesitation. Shut the fuck up.
I'm sorry, I'm taking no questions at this time, Chris. There's no questions. We are looking...
Kral, please take 1 spray of isopropyl alcohol in your face.
Hold still.
Excellent. Carry on.
That's not fun at all.
I'm laughing. So orcs are organized into orcs are organized into tribes, clans. Guess which word I said that merged those two together?
Yes,
and war bands. They have a cultural identity that's focused around 6 kind of separate elements of orc culture. So we had the Bad Moons, as Chris eventually got to, who are the richest. They're the merchant class of orcs, and they have a kind of specialized troop that's available to them called the Flash Gits. And these are the ostentatious, heavy weapon wielding orcs. So they're the ones with the best weapons that teeth can buy. We then moved on to the Blood Axes, who were the commando-style orc tribe. They're the ones that use un-orc-like tactics, like formations and stealth.
Curtsies.
And curtsies, yes, in tutus. Yes, Chris, keep going.
I think you said courtesies, not curtsies.
Yeah. I did actually say curtsy, and I meant to say courtesy.
So the Blood Axes use commandos. So these are the stealthy, commandos, as you would assume they would be called. They wear camouflage, which is a thing that none of the other orc tribes use. But their idea of camouflage is like the camouflage from the Ali G movies, where it's like lurid oranges and blues and yellows and greens. It's
Jesus.
So it's the concept of camouflage rather than the actual implementation of effective camouflage. The Death Skulls is the third tribe. They are battlefield looters extraordinaire. They loot not only weapons, but entire vehicles. And there have been instances where they've looted Space Marine Land Raiders or Dark Elder Raiders. So they're able to get them functioning again after they've kind of captured them. But they are being orcified with glyphs and amusing cannons. Mr. Chris?
I think you've just identified my favorite orc tribe. They loot.
They loot.
It's true, man. Kral loves loot.
Kral loves loot. I love loot. I love orcs.
I don't know if we've ever mentioned it on this particular show, but any game, any video game, multiplayer game that involves looting, like as a side activity. If you play that with Kral, that's the main focus for Kral.
That's the thing he does.
What's was it Battleground Unknown? Is that the right title? Is that what it's called?
No, you mean Call of Duty or anything where there's loot?
Yeah, like Warzone or
Warzone. You mean I know in Player Unknown Battleground.
Player
I've played that in bloody years.
Yeah, but like whenever we played anything like that, we'd be like, "Oh god, they're firing at us! Kral, get round!" And Kral's like fucking 400 miles across the other side of the map, just looting, like with no purpose other than just to.
It's more deciding. Do I need this scope or do I need that scope? Actually, no. I want that scope, but on this gun. No, I want that gun, but with this scope.
And it would make sense if there was a kind of an ongoing thing with the loot in those games. But once you die, it's a permadeath game, so all the loot goes anyway. Yeah,
look at my stuff.
What you've just described there, it is the Death Skulls. If you take that entire kind of way of being and then paint it blue. That's what the Death Skulls do. They blue is their lucky
Those
color.
were the blue ones, Kral.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
They wear blue war paint, and all of their vehicles, especially the vehicles that they loot and reconstruct and send back out, are painted blue in terms of being lucky.
These are the Blood Axes?
No, Death Skulls.
Death Skulls, sorry. Death Skulls. Yeah.
It's funny that they're not the richest then, because they loot all the time.
Yeah, but loot isn't the currency. Teeth is the currency.
They're asset rich and cash poor. Yeah, teeth poor.
Right. Yeah, okay. Asset rich, teeth poor, just like British aristocracy.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Exactly.
Hello.
The Evil Sons. They are the Mad Max tribe of orcs. They have a obsession with the color red. They believe anything painted red goes faster. All of their vehicles are painted red. Their armor is red. Sometimes even they themselves are fully painted red. Mr. Chris.
You say they believe things painted red makes them faster. And does that, in fact, their belief in that help indeed make them go faster? Isn't that part of the orc?
Right, we need to give him another point for the lobotomy bottle thing, because that's very well remembered. Yes,
very well remembered.
The power of belief is a thing that orcs rely on. So if they believe a car has or a truck has an engine, when it doesn't, it will run like it has an engine. That's the kind of extreme nature of it.
That's fucking brilliant,
isn't it?
That's absolutely awesome. I love orcs. I love you even more, buddies.
Do you think you love them more than fantasy orcs?
Does the same thing apply to the fancy orcs if they believe things?
Not really.
Not to the same extent.
No, not to the same extent, because the technology they have is incredibly crude. Sure. The most complicated thing they have is a chariot. That's it.
Okay, and they don't have to believe that it exists.
No.
It just exists.
Yeah,
I'm attracted more to the 40k orcs. Yeah.
You're an orcs with a K rather than an orcs with a C, then.
Correct, with a K.
Nice. So they have not only possibly the largest amount of vehicles, they also have the largest amount of fighter jets and bombers, and we'll get into some of them later on. Mr. Chris.
I have got all the questions today. This belief system, how much is that limited to, or what is that limited to? I.e., could the bad moons are the rich ones, the death schools believe that they are the richest and have the most teeth, and therefore they will have the most teeth?
Again, a fantastic question. I think it doesn't work in the abstract. So they have to believe a truck has an engine. They have to believe they have the best gun. So
they have to believe they have the most teeth?
I suppose you could argue it, but you'd be wrong.
Okay, fine. It ain't in the law book.
Their belief seems to be around the modification of something tangible that they already have. Yeah. So, like, obviously they can't be like
teeth.
Well, no, because they would. It's a modification of something they already have. So if they had teeth, they could maybe make them bigger, but they can't materialize them out of thin air. Whereas with
then I believe I have the biggest teeth. How about that? Then?
Fine, you have the biggest teeth, Kral. I don't know what you want from this conversation.
I'm just trying. I'm poking holes in the thing, and it's probably wasting time. So,
are you? Is this you announcing a new dental clinic? I don't.
My teeth, Ben. I was just.
Have you got your teeth in, Kral?
I'm just putting my teeth in. Yeah. So, Darren, I'm going through a course of dentistry at the moment of straightening some of my teeth. Would my straight teeth have more value than my previously? Well, they're still slightly wonky teeth. I suppose once they're out your mouth, they're fucking teeth.
Yeah, exactly. They're of no value while they're in your head. Like they have to be removed before they're
What if I believe there was value whilst they're in my head?
If you were an orc, we're not suggesting you pull your teeth out and go to a bank.
No. Dar, let's not interrupt. Let's see where this goes, all right? Let's see where this goes. Next episode could be a real doozy.
Welcome to the gummy dwarf episodes.
Yeah.
So I'll just believe I have my teeth in my mouth and everything will be fine.
Excellent.
Right, Aaron? Is that how it works?
Yes, that's exactly how it works. So the evil sons, they, as I say, the Mad Maxes of 40k, they have a kind of sub-cult with an L within their tribe called the Cult of Speed. Guess what they do?
Lots of amphetamines?
No.
Okay.
It's a quasi-religious organization of orcs that believe that going fast wins wars, wins battles, gets you into battle first, allows you to kill everyone as quickly as possible, and then move on to the next battle or the next planet or the next system. So when you're facing the Cult of Speed, it's all war bikes, light vehicles, perhaps some of the larger trucks, because most of the Evil Sons are mounted or mechanized infantry. They'll be on personnel carriers. But then, of course, you've got the other flying vehicles within the cult as well, the various different types of Daka jet, as they're called. Daka being Ork for firepower.
Daka, 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 Daka. Yeah.
And the excitingly named Deathcopter.
It's pretty exciting.
All right, then.
I am excited.
I expected more excitement, if I'm being completely honest.
Ooh.
Not the Deathcopter.
not the Deathcopter.
It maybe it was just our reaction to it, but like, is it very underwhelming when it announces itself? Like everyone's like,
it's
super
everyone just underwhelming. Acts. It's an Ork
bloody amazing. Oh, look, it's the Deathcopter. Everyone's very scared. Yeah.
There was, I can remember someone did a conversion of one of these massive Chinook, with the two propellers, these big, huge carriers, and they called it the Shinork.
Nice.
Pretty good.
Now that's a name that turns heads. He's like, they turn up at bar. He's like, I'm the Deathcopter. He's like, whatever. Shinork. This guy. This is where the party's at.
Look at the Shinork on that guy. What? We then have the Goffs, Goffs. They are the traditionalist Ork in terms of 40k. So these are the ones that have huge infantry tribes. They believe in having a slugger, which is their pistol, and then a chopper, which is an axe or a sword. And there's no extravagance with the Goths.
Extravagance. Oh, sorry.
Kral, please, one more isopropyl alcohol spray in the face for you.
Oh, my other eye.
And actually, for good measure, Dar, one for you as well, please.
No, I'm not. I've had two. I'm not doing a third.
Come on, we've got to get to 7.
You've got to get to 7. So the Goths are both the toughest and meanest of the Orks. They encapsulate kind of traditional Ork violence. They have one real kind of advancement, one kind of troop type they have more than anyone else. And these are the Storm Boys. And this is effectively an Ork with a rocket strapped to its back to get it into combat. So it's jump troops, jump pack-assisted assault troops. Mr. Chris.
You mentioned traditional Ork warfare. What's this traditional and untraditional Ork warfare?
Insofar as it doesn't have any kind of extra bells and whistles, it's just an Ork with their...
No frills, straight up Ork action. Yeah,
exactly right. There are the most conservative of, say, for instance, English football hooliganism of the 80s and 90s. That's really...
Think of a warring Ork, you think of the Goths.
That's exactly right. So they bring very large numbers of Orks into a battle, almost exclusively infantry. That does not mean they don't have trucks and war bikes and, Daka jets and bombers and stuff. They do, but in far less numbers than everyone else. So they believe that an Ork should be able to stand on their own 2 feet. But of course, the Goths are not the most traditional of the traditionalists. We are talking, of course, of the Snakebite clan. These are the fantasy Orks with 40k technology, but they apply it very oddly. There tends not to be any great number of vehicles in a Snakebite tribe or Snakebite warband. Again, that's not to say they don't have them. They just don't put any real stock in them in terms of culture. So they have boar boys. It's Orks on boars riding into battle. So think of it as kind of in World War I, where there was still cavalry. It's that kind of odd thing. In a shooting war, there are cavalry. It's a little bit odd. But of course, that doesn't stop them from bringing in other elements of Ork technology. So you get cyboars, which is a cyborg boar. Either it's got robot legs, or it's been given a wheel to replace its back legs.
Ah,
I just love the idea of this orc warlord on a cyborg doing a wheelie into combat.
trundling.
Yeah.
Wonder if they use juggernaut polish on their cyborgs, at least on the robot part.
No, they'll use the kind of the second product from that company, Boar Buff.
Boar buff, nice. Like
Not as effective,
No,
but good value nonetheless.
Yep. Hog
Yeah,
polish.
yeah. Hog buff. Buff your hog.
I have a +5 hog of healing. What?
When you said boar boys, I thought they don't sound interesting, do they? It's like Buzz Killington at a party.
Yeah. And
Who wants to hear an interesting story about a bridge?
So the snake bites also have a larger concentration of something called beast snaggers. Now, we touched on this last episode. These are orc monster hunters who eschew modern technology almost completely. They still have the traditional guns, the sluggers and shooters, but they also have a lot of harpoons, and they create things that look like an enormous Mad Maxi style chariot pulled by squigs that are the size of a tank.
Squigs.
Yeah,
Cool.
squigs that are the size of squigs.
Squigs-sized squigs. Got it.
That's a true statement. They are.
But by the way, I hadn't realised how big juggernauts, and then the steeds of Khorne. I hadn't realised how massive those things are. Actually, I thought they would traditionally. Yeah, no, they're like dogs the size of fucking Brachiosaurus.
Yeah,
they're huge.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, the ones that are the size of dogs are the flesh hounds, and they're the size of very large dogs.
Those are the ones that have the frilly things.
Yeah.
The manes, the flesh manes.
They have Dilophosaur jazz hands.
Yeah.
Here they come, and they look fabulous.
I was out on a date last night, and I won't kiss and tell, but
she had a huge mullet.
It just sounds like the person's date had one of those cones that dogs wear to stop the cone of shame. The cone of shame.
What an amazing fetish that is. It acts like a funnel.
Yeah, exactly. It's great at a party. You just get people to fill it with beer.
Yeah, because that's what people are putting it. Beer. So beast snaggers are monster hunters. And in the world of 40k, that also means tanks. You're welcome. Boom.
They hunt for tanks.
They all hunt large monsters and tanks, yeah.
It's quite a specific combination of things. Like
there's a wild herd of tanks just at the watering hole, minding their own business.
They're grazing. They're just grazing. We'll sneak up on them.
Surround them.
Yeah.
I'll scare them. The one that will go for the small one, try and herd it away. We'll get it and we'll spear it.
Yeah. Then shoot it with a grenade launcher. Yeah.
There's a load of tanks. What? A load of tanks? No, a herd. Herd of tanks. Yeah. Oh, of course a herd of tanks. There's a load of them over there. Who's on first?
Bra fucking
what's the noun for a collection of tanks, Kral? A group of tanks?
Oh, it's got to be it's got to be something like
a gear,
a dichotomy of tanks. I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, that's just two tanks.
Yeah.
A smearing of tanks.
What do those guys call a load of kind of hot rod cars get together? Like a
joyride.
A meetup.
A meetup of tanks.
A meetup of tanks.
It sounds dodgy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, going to meet the lads for a meetup. Ooh. I thought you were married, mate.
I am to the car. What? Yes. So Beast Snaggers are new to the range. So they came in 9th edition, I think. And they do have a cavalry, kind of like a cyborg style thing, but it's referred to as a squig hog. Basically, it's a giant, angry squig pig. Spig. Those are the kind of 6 main tribes, or the 6 cultural kind of norm tribes in there. The Beast Snaggers, I should say, they appear in all tribes. They're not limited to the snake bites.
I'm just testing my own memory here. The Beast Snaggers, Bad Moons, Evil Sons, Death Axes,
Snake bites,
Snake Bite, and the Skulls, Blood Skulls,
Death Skulls,
Blood
Death
Axes,
Skulls.
and
Blood
Death
Axes
Skulls.
and Death Skulls.
Yeah.
Oh man,
well done.
You're missing one. You
and Goths.
Goths. There you go.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit the naming, the nomenclature, does it? The Goths. It doesn't have the something. It's just a single,
exactly.
Throws you off, like.
It's too easy.
They've all got that. They've all got the emo hair.
yeah.
Cheer up, Goth.
Listening to The Cure.
So what I thought we'd do is just in this episode, after that brief but also time-consuming recap, is go through some of the more notable battles and then have a look at what they actually have in the army on the tabletop. The history of the Orks is long, varied, and detailed.
And boring. And detailed.
The end.
And we will cover almost none of that in this taster episode number 2 of Orks. So I thought I'd touch on kind of the most impactful moments in Ork history as a kind of this is your Ork kind of TV show. So,
this is your Ork. I love it.
Guy comes out with the green book. Yeah. So Orks predate humans by quite an enormous margin. And that's as much as I'm going to say on that matter. The first kind of real kind of cornerstone moment interaction between Orks and humans was one of the last great battles of the Great Crusade prior to Horus Heresy, and it's the Battle of Ullanor, where 100,000 Marines of various chapters, the largest contingent being the Sons of Horus, and 8 million, with an M, other troops, fought against an enormous Ork Waaagh, an Ork warlord on Ullanor. The forces of the Imperium won, and then the amazing procession of Ullanor happened, where the Adeptus Mechanicus used city-sized vehicles that planed an entire continent flat, level, as much as you can. It was at that battle, or in the aftermath of that battle, that Horus himself was made the War Master. So right at the kind of birth of the Imperium, in quotes, Orks played a pivotal but dead role, as they were mostly dead. But that was one of the...
Even in death, they're very significant. I love them. I love them.
Well, there's so many of the buggers. Once they're dead, what do you do with them?
Yeah.
Look, I found an Ork's wallet. What?
Mushroom soup, I imagine.
Mushroom soup.
Are Orks useful when they die as like compost or anything like? Can you grow Ork spores in a body of an Ork? Do you know what I mean? They're like kind of the Last of Us vibes.
That's a great question. I don't know.
I mean, I would have thought that the possibility of them creating more spores to create more of them is enough to just flambe the lot of them. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah. But could you like drag the cadaver of an Ork into your backyard and just like grow tomatoes out of it or something? You know what I mean?
Yes, but those tomatoes may turn into some sort of weird, squiggy, tomatoey ork.
And that's how squigs are made.
And I'd love to watch the kind of gardening show that does that, but lots of it is behind like a censored bar.
Yeah. And the guy's presenting it, and just like flower beds are just standing up and walking away. Fully grown orcs, you know.
Are you mostly prepared for the next Waaagh? Is your planet worthy of 75% effective munitions? Rin's World Discount Defense Warehouse has everything you need to maybe ensure victory against the Greenskin Menace. From slightly used power armor to mostly working bolt guns, we offer a wide range of mid-quality battle-present equipment. Outfit your troops with gear that was definitely there at the legendary defense of Rin's World against Waaagh Snagrod. Our inventory includes items specifically designed, though never used, to withstand the brutal assault of Ork Waaghs. Whether you need heavy artillery to stop an Ork advance or plasma missiles that definitely work, we've got you covered. With our sourcing excavations ongoing, be sure to keep an eye out for our special promotions and clearance sales. Arm yourself with the best from Rin's World Discount Defense Warehouse. Victory favours the prepared. Terms and conditions apply. The Ork army at Ullanor was absolutely vast, but it was by no means the biggest Ork army ever faced during the early Imperium. That comes 1500 years after the Horus Heresy closes, when there's the so-called War of the Beast. Once again, the Orks are coming from the sector that Ullanor is in. So it's coming from the same area. But we're looking at, in at least one battle, tens of millions of Orks in one horde attacking the Imperium. And that was just a part of the larger Ork Waaagh. The Imperial Fists, now a chapter rather than a legion, were dispatched with a significant kind of army presence to take out the Ork leadership and blunt the kind of Waaagh. We discussed this last time, where if you kill the Ork warlords, the other warlords kind of fracture, possibly literally, and kind of fight. There's infighting as to who takes over the Waaagh. The forces of the Imperium, and of course at this stage it's the High Lords of Terra who are calling the shots, and not the Emperor, who's still in his throne. The Imperial Fists, numbering 1,000, it's the full chapter, are wiped out to almost every man, and indeed only one Imperial Fist remained alive after the battle, and was now his own chapter master.
Is this the same Imperial Fist that fucking fucked themselves in the A with their own missile?
No, that's the
Crimson
Fists.
Crimson Fist. Okay, the other fists.
So
yeah, okay.
did that single Crimson Fist,
Imperial
Fists, have to rename himself an Imperial Fist?
No, because the
Imperial
fists...
Finger.
Imperial Handshake.
He was known as Chapter Master Knuckles.
Chapter Master Fist Bump.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to kind of sustain a plural name when there's only one of you left.
Well, maybe he took on the kind of royal we. He was the collective fist.
Yeah.
As he was now the chapter master, he effectively called on all the successor chapters of the Imperial Fist, including the Crimson Fists, Chris, and the Black Templars. And they set about then the second and third battles of Ullanor, and they were eventually able to decapitate the Horde and fractured and broke the Waaagh, which then passed on. But it did include, that kind of campaign, include some very odd moments, like some Eldar, principally Harlequins, and a couple of Farseers, or a couple of Warlocks, got into the Imperial Palace on Terra and got to the door of the inner sanctum, where they were cut down by the Custodes, effectively. And they were trying to give warning to the Emperor of the rise of not only the Beast, as he's known, the Great Ork Warlord, but also of the machinations of Chaos, who were allied, in quotes, with the forces of the Orks.
Well, if they're just bringing a message, did they not think that it would be better to say to the custodes or custodes?
Yeah, go on.
Is it custodes?
Yes.
Okay. Did they not think it would be better to say to the custodes, we have a message for the Emperor, please don't cut us down?
The Emperor to them is still very much alive because he's a psychic being. So they were instructed to give a message to the Emperor.
Right. Not to one of their...
Not to a lackey.
Yeah, but could they not have said, look, we've been told we need to give this message to the Emperor. Can you let us in just to have a quick chat and then we'll fuck off? Or did they just run in all guns blazing? Were they killing people on the way in?
Oh, they were killing everyone who stood in front of them. So it was the Harlequins that were doing all the killing. And these are the best warriors that the Eldar have. So yes. So perhaps a bad first impression, which is usual when you stab someone.
Yeah.
Hello, stab.
Yeah, it's never worked well for me.
Moving on. We also had Orks on Terra, where the Ork warlord, again I'm paraphrasing here, sent an ambassador to the High Lords of Terra.
Amazing.
And asking for their surrender.
They were warned. Again.
They were warned.
Kudos to the Orks, man. Like, we're going to ask first, and we're going to stab next. Those are our terms. Love it. Give them a chance. Better just put my teeth in.
Oh, you just put your teeth in, Crown?
I teeth in, yeah.
Just put your teeth in. Was the Ork ambassador an Ork ambassador? Was he successful? Was he able to deliver his Orky message?
He delivered the Orky message to the High Lords of Terra face to face, and they were scandalized. It was as if a Cocker Spaniel had spoken. They were just gobsmacked.
Oh my God, it speaks!
Yeah.
It's so cute!
Ultimately, then, as I said, the Imperium was successful. It continues to exist. But I think the most interesting event in the aftermath was the formation of the Ordo Xenos of the Inquisition, whose charter is effectively to destroy or, redirect any alien threat to the Imperium. It was also saw the founding of the Death Watch, which is the alien hunters, the kill teams of the Adeptus Astartes. This is a slightly larger than chapter size organization, but it's one that has no permanent warriors. These are Astartes who are seconded to them for a period of time. That changed over time. There were eventually some permanent members of the organization, but it wasn't until 1,500 years after the heresy that the threat of the alien was taken so seriously as there were dedicated resources put in place to get rid of them.
Sorry, just to go back to the ambassador, did they, once they heard his message, did they just let the Ork ambassador go back to the Ork forces, or did they just kill him on the spot?
It's an amazing and hilarious story that we will cover in greater detail when we cover the Orks.
Okay.
It's worth the wait. It's really quite fun.
Exciting.
Moving forward then, 10,000 years, we come to the kind of events of the past century within the current timeline of 40k. There's really something happening every other year, so I'm just going to pick a few points out. We have the Second War for Armageddon, known by almost everyone as the First War for Armageddon, but it is in fact the Second War for Armageddon.
Is Armageddon a planet?
Armageddon is a planet. Imagine naming your planet Armageddon.
It's like naming a system Bad Landing.
Yeah.
It's not the one. Don't do it. And welcome to the new system. We're all fucked. Move in, take a seat, and make yourself comfortable. We'll be here for a short time.
The Second War for Armageddon starts about 9 years prior to the actual war, where an Ork warlord called Ghazghkull Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Thraka. The character was created in the late 80s, and in fact it should be pronounced Ghazghkull Margaret Thatcher. That was literally a bloody-minded orc warlord based on a British Prime Minister.
The Iron Lady. And do you know where the Iron Lady was born, Ben? Which town? Which small market town?
Was it Grantham?
It was Grantham. My hometown.
Grantanamo.
Yeah, Mum.
So 9 years prior to the actual War of Armageddon, a Space Marine interdiction force had come to blunt the rise of an orc warlord, which may have been the Ghazghkull, but he was, instead of being killed, he was shot in the head and it blew off the top of his head and a good chunk of his brain.
But he survived.
Straight up. But he survived because a pain boy put a bionic skull on his head. And after that time...
Someone else's.
Yeah. It was an Eldar helmet. So he's a cool head. But after that incident, his latent kind of psychic orc powers, he was sort of a weird boy, but he didn't act like a weird boy. So he was known as the Prophet of Gork and Mork because he heard voices. He became a staggeringly powerful orc warlord, destroying all opposition and gathering more and more tribes and warbands to his banner, and ultimately led to the cataclysmic invasion of a planet called Armageddon. The invasion included things like he would crash ships and space hulks onto the planet's surface, absolutely crammed full of orcs. Whoever survived managed to get out. They set up an immediate camp, and they really took the idea of Waaagh
to the next level.
I've run out of steam.
I've got you. They took the meaning of Waaagh to the next level, right?
Yeah, effectively, yeah.
There was laughter, there were tears.
Tears.
Lessons were learned.
There was
Friendships
great romances
were made.
And treachery.
Bridges were built. Yeah, absolutely.
I never knew what it was like to love another orc, but...
Am I on the right track here?
Yeah, it was pretty much. I mean, there was as much homoeroticism as you're implying.
Orco-eroticism.
Orco-eroticism,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
A homork. Yeah. Ghazghkull was almost successful in the destruction and conquering of the planet because the initial response was led by the Governor von Straub, the kind of planetary lord of Armageddon, who, when the call for aid was sent out by the astropaths to the wider Imperium, he exiled the person that triggered that warning. It's Commissar Yarrick, from his hive, from the kind of main hive, off to a secondary hive called Hades, where he was effectively sending him to die because he had pulled all resources and all kind of military that were under his control back to his main kind of sanctum so that he could protect himself rather than the planet. Ultimately, within a month of the start of the Orc invasion, help arrives. Again, the Black Templars play a role. No, they don't. Sorry, I got confused.
He's arguing with himself again.
I'm arguing with myself.
The Black Templars are, no, they don't. Shut up, Darren. You shut
up. So eventually the invasion is stopped and the Orcs are kicked off the planet, some literally. And Ghazghkull retreats off to the Golgotha sector to kind of replan.
Lick his wounds.
Ugh. A few decades later, a warlord called Nazdreg comes up or forces his mechs to come up with a new invention, and they come up with a teleporter. Tell porter. And they sell this technology for a vast amount of teeth to a certain Margaret Thatcher warlord.
Brilliant.
And he once again starts planning the inevitable return to Armageddon. While all this is happening, we have various other events, various other combats and incidents with orcs involved, some of them bordering on outright comedy. On the world of Canto II, there is a thing called the Titan Heist, where a load of Ork commandos steal a warlord Titan from the foundry with hilarious consequences, as they say in movies. They shoot their way onto the Titan and they take over the actual cabin, which is usually in the head of the Titan. One of them plugs themselves into the kind of neural link, so they're able to control it. But they're constantly fighting against the machine intelligence of the engine itself. Listeners will recall that most complex Imperial technology, some of the larger and older vehicles in general, have a neutered form of AI that allows pilots or assists in the piloting or driving of these very complicated war machines. The Titan, which is referred to as the Wrath of Cassiopeia, is constantly trying to shirk off this weird orky intelligence that's trying to get in and control the Titan. And ultimately, the Orks end up with no real way of controlling this Titan, which ends up kind of arguing with itself, Chris, as you pointed out earlier. And eventually, the machine intelligence becomes so angry that it detonates its reactor, destroying itself, the Ork kind of commando raiders, but also a huge area of Forge World is devastated by this kind of mega nuclear reactor detonation. So ultimately, it plays into the longer run story of Orks being able to give the Imperium a bloody nose. But I love the idea of a load of scouts taking over a warlord Titan.
Yeah, I love it. It's so funny.
And if you remember, right at the very start, when we were talking about Space Marines and their implants, the things that their implants allows them to do you remember the kind of brief tale about how a load of Space Marine scouts were able to take over a Titan and pilot it by eating the brains of the crew?
Yeah.
So it's the Ork version of that, where ultimately the Titan has a tantrum and detonates.
It's like, fuck it, I'm killing myself. That's it.
Did the Titan that had a tantrum, was the tantrum side of it, was that like, did the Orks just kind of extract that from them? Like, was it the Orkish influence that made it self-detonate like a brat?
It was all the kind of machine intelligence. It got so frustrated and angry at having to put up with this constant
violation.
Ork. I
can't take it anymore.
The Titan that had a tantrum sounds like the title of a kid's book, doesn't it?
Or the worst porn you'd ever watch. What?
Titan tantrums.
I must apologize because that came a little bit too quickly after your thing about the kids' book. This isn't the only time, obviously, that the Orks have got a hold of something and thought, oh, we're going to use this to our advantage, and then it goes horribly wrong. Some 20 years later, a different Ork crowd on the other side of the galaxy were building together a Space Hulk. They were assembling a Space Hulk for themselves. And so they chained this enormous Space Hulk that they found and were drawing it towards their kind of conglomeration of vehicles to then go through the warp and go fighting. But it was full of gene stealers and tyrannid organisms. And they only noticed this when all of these aliens started running along the huge change to try and get to the Orks. The Ork warlord, or the Ork in command, ordered all his Orks to shoot them and use them as target practice. So you've got all these things running up these chains and then just floating off into space in bits. But it's like, what was it? Like a tower defense game. But the Tyranid forms kept getting closer and closer and closer, and eventually the Ork in charge got bored and kind of disengaged all the chains and left the Space Hulk floating slowly towards a hugely populated Imperial star system.
Oh, God.
With hilarious consequences. Around about the same time as that, Chris, you'll be delighted to know that that's when Waaagh Snagrod happens. So we're talking maybe 30, 40 years ago, where a certain Imperial Astartes chapter of the reddish hand variety launch a missile with hilarious consequences. So that's when the Crimson Fists kind of self-detonate from Waaagh Snagrod.
Idiots.
Over a space of 2 years, the Orks are destroyed and wiped out from that star system. So we've got a little kind of, it's inside stories because I've told this tale to you guys before, but it's worth covering again. So Waaagh Snagrod, the arch-arsonist of Sharadon, combines a load of Ork tribes and goes munching around a few star systems, including, Ben, you'll love this, a star system called Bad Landing.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Why would you call it that? Why would you call it that?
And the Crimson Fists, hearing of this invasion, send off their third company, which is promptly destroyed with hilarious... No. The chapter master of the Crimson Fist, Pedro Cantor, sends out a call to all the other Crimson Fist forces that are out on missions because he knows that the Orks are heading his way. The Orks arrive, and the planetary defense system kicks in, controlled from the Crimson Fist chapter monastery. Unfortunately, a plasma missile, misfires. Or rather, works perfectly well, but at the wrong target. It sort of flies straight up. The engine's cut, it falls straight down, and then detonates in the fortress monastery of the Crimson Fist, killing 600 space marines and leaving only 16, I think, alive, who then go on a kind of commando raid style mission to go from the devastated base straight to the New Rin city, which is the capital where the defense forces are kind of massing. Ultimately, the other 400 Crimson Fists rock up, and over 18 months they're able to wipe out the Orks. But yes, it's certainly a sad kind of mirroring of the fate of the Imperial Fists during the War of the Beast, where they were cut down to 1. These guys were cut down to 400, so less than half of their original size. Mr. Chris?
I mean, you say it's sad. I think it's hilarious. I don't have any empathy for the Imperium at all. Bunch of douches. I say again, bunch of douches. My question is, though, how does the chapter respond to basically they killed themselves, and how does the Imperium as a whole respond to that?
Well, I think
you're the Emperor. Okay, picture this. You're the Emperor.
Hang on.
A whole chapter. Mr. Emperor, a whole chapter of Space Marines foobarred themselves.
How do you feel about
What's your response? Yeah.
I'm not making that face again. I think the general consensus is that it was a faulty missile, so it was happenstance. It wasn't anything.
And who was responsible for that missile?
In terms of, it would be the Adeptus Mechanicus would be in charge of the kind of technology side of things, but it would be managed on a day-to-day basis by the Crimson Fist themselves, because it's part of their home world as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
They were forgiven. They weren't just like, you're a bunch of idiots, you asked for it. You should have maintained your plasma missiles better.
But yeah, but if you think about the sheer volume of munitions they must be using across the entire galaxy, the number of instances where that happens must be quite large. Like, with just things misfiring and going off and not doing what they should do.
Into your own monastery, killing just about every single one of you. I mean...
I can answer that question really with this.
They win the Darwin Award, is all I can say.
That particular maneuver is referred to as the Cantor maneuver.
Is that up and down kablamo?
Yeah, an up and down Jackson.
Up and down Jackson. Moving on from our various Jacksons, we come to the third war for Armageddon, which is still the second war for Armageddon for most people. Not to be confused with the second war for Armageddon previously, which was the first Star War for Armageddon, again for most people, because the first actual war for Armageddon included demons, and so all of that was hushed up. Moving on.
I see. Okay.
Wink.
So, Magathrax and Maggie Thatch, the warlord, Ghazghkull, has returned to Armageddon.
And
you just knocked your mic.
Got a bit flaccid. Everything's gone wonky.
He returns again with more orc rocks, which are hollowed out meteorites filled with orcs and force fields, and a newer invention of the orcs called an attack moon. So think of Death Star-sized meteor, an astral body, that's been hollowed out and kitted with tons of force fields, millions of orcs, or hundreds of thousands of orcs, and various attack weapons, and loads of launch bays, this kind of stuff. That can travel through the warp. It has a warp drive. Interestingly enough, they don't have Geller fields. So when orcs travel through the warp, they look to it as battle practice because they're constantly fighting demons that get into their spaceship.
They are their own Geller field.
Okay, 2 questions. Can they be corrupted by the warp energies?
Yes, they can be, yeah.
And does that happen when they're traveling through the warp?
That has happened previously. There's been a few instances of that. And indeed, in the 3rd edition of 40k, the Demon Hunters Codex had like a template you could apply to other races to create possessed versions of that. So possessed Eldar, possessed Tau, possessed Orcs, that kind of notion.
Cool. Okay.
And if I recall correctly, there's a great image of some orcs possessed by the lesser demons of Nurgle. So hot green on green action.
Excellent. Follow-up question. The whole not having a Geller field, could they believe that they have a Geller field and bring that into existence?
Yes, if they understood that a Geller field was possible.
Right. Which they don't. Okay.
They don't, because they believe it. A lot of the kind of orc protective technology is force fields. So you'd have to have an absolute ton of orcs believe that a force field could keep out demons. But as I say, they use it as battle practice.
Right. Okay.
To get so they pre-game an invasion with demons.
Wow.
It's pretty good.
Because they're fucking boss.
So on top of Ghazghkull, there is also a mysterious orc mech boy who's an absolute genius. He's an amazing inventor, comes up with loads of different gadgets, like an inventor, and really is a force multiplier for the orcs. He's based on a Greek inventor and philosopher. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to try and work out what he's called.
Orchimedes.
That's exactly right, Chris. That's exactly right.
Oh my God. Well done, Kral. Do you know what, Kral? I'm going to go back into the thing today and I'm going to change one of your no points to a point. That was right. You're on 71%, pal.
That's crap.
I mean, who else could it be? What else could it be?
Wonderful.
So, Ghazghkull is aided in all of this by the traitorous Imperial Governor von Straub, who left Armageddon after the second/first war with the Orks. He was captured and became a turncoat and gave tons of advice. And indeed, one of the opening salvos of the war is, during the initial war, the second/first, Commissar Yarrick took command. If you remember, he was exiled. He took command of the Hades Hive and basically fought the Orks to a standstill. The Orks could never take over the Hive, and it remained free from the start of the war to the very end. That, again, not without massive injuries. And in fact, Yarrick has, like a power glove, like a power fist in the Imperial Armory. He has
like
one.
the Nintendo Power Glove.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
tacky.
but his one is an Ork one, because an Ork warlord used the very same claw, the power claw, to snip off Yarrick's arm. And Yarrick was so incensed.
I think it was more than a snip, wasn't it? I've snipped your arm off.
Yarrick was absolutely incensed that this happened, so killed the Ork and tore the bionic arm off the Ork, and had his, had the Mechanicus strap it to his arm as a replacement.
Wow. That's cool.
Do you want to clean it first? It's been on an Ork.
No. Get it on there.
Put it on me.
Yeah.
No,
mushrooms
I'm
and all.
a vegan. Yeah. So Yarrick is seen as this great symbol of resistance and hope within the Imperium, in the wider Imperium, in fact. And so the very first thing the Orks do when they come back for the next fight is they crash a huge Ork rock, one of these great, enormous meteorite vehicles, into the Hive and destroy it completely, which is saying something. It's deep impact.
They don't call it the Ork Rock, do they? It's not O-R-K,
it's
R-O-K. Oh, is it?
R-O-K. It is, yeah. You're on fire, Chris.
O-R-K-R-O-K.
I feel like Chris has been looking at your notes. What's going on here?
Ork Rock.
Again, we'll cover the battle in more detail, but this is one of the scenarios that Games Workshop ran as a global campaign. So it was, players could actually log their results from their games on a website, and the kind of battle unfolded based on the results of actual games by actual players.
How long ago was this?
Now,
was this the age of like Microsoft Encarta and things like that? Was it like
all
90s?
that kind of stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, nostalgia. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Good stuff.
Back in the day. Again, ultimately, the Imperium wins. We'll cover that in a great more detail when we do the deep dive into the Orks. As the battle is coming to an end, Maggie gets a vision from the.
She's like, I've got to close the mines.
Did I leave the hob on? No, I'm a fucking Ork. And he heads off in his ship, the Killwrecker, and leaves Armageddon. And it's within literally a couple of months after that, something called the Galactic Green Wave happens, where on the world of Octaria, not Orktaria, Octaria, an enormous psychic Waaagh pulse spreads out across the entire galaxy, calling together all the Orks that are able to respond. We're seeing then the largest Ork Waaagh, possibly even to rival the one of the Beast, is building, and that's the kind of current narrative of the Ork timeline. So yeah.
So that'll be like a new addition. The big bad will be the Ork Waaagh.
Yeah, I think so. Once we get past the big bad being the Tyranids,
right? Okay,
or the Necrons.
Yeah.
Or
there's a lot of big bads.
Chaos.
Yeah. It's always bad. So I
I
thought we'd close out this episode with just a very brief rundown of the Orks on the tabletop.
Okay.
Your commanders, you get the usual kind of warlord or war bosses. So these are the kind of just shouty, fighty bosses. You can also get the mechs, the kind of mechanics, And if you take them, that allows you to take various types of other specialist vehicles as troop choices or elite choices. So it allows you to kind of reflect the combat stylings and culture of the war boss or mech in your system, in your game. You can also take in pain boys, which are just medics, which you can attach to units or you can attach to the war boss and a retinue. And you can take weird boys, so you can have kind of green psychic blasts going around the battlefield. And indeed, the Foot of Gork. Stamp, stamp,
Everybody's favourites, the Foot of Gork. Hey!
Which may or may not be completely made out of athlete's foot. We don't know.
But it's more effective if it is athlete's foot.
I like to believe all the enemies cheer when they see the Gork. Like, you can't be angry.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, you can't stay angry. Mostly because you'll be dead. But yeah, you can't stay angry. In terms of kind of elite troops, then, you're looking at the excitingly named Knob, who are simply bosses. And then you have, those are like the veteran kind of squad leader style gangs that get together and attack. So I think of them as like veteran Space Marines, that kind of level of accomplishment. You then have the even more excitingly known Mega Knob, and those are Ork Terminators. Just imagine.
Ooh. That's really cool.
That's wicked.
Knob.
And they're incredibly tough on the table, especially if you buff them with a pain boy or some other combination of special
or hog buffer.
Or hog buffer. I mean hog polish. Yeah.
Hog polish. Sorry.
The elite section is also where you would find things like the commandos, the tank busters, who you know what a thunderhammer is. We talked about thunderhammers previously, which is a huge hammer with a force field on the around the actual hammer. But the tank busters have a similar thing, but instead of having a hammer, they have missiles, just like tied to it, so they whack stuff and it explodes.
That's hilarious.
Brilliant. Do they have to reload it every time though? I guess it's a one and done kind of thing, isn't it?
They do.
And does it fire forward? Like when they
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't shoot out. It just whack.
Well, obviously, like these things detonate in 360 degrees. So, like, surely when they go bam, they just wipe themselves out as well.
They're a glorious and very short-lived troop type.
Yeah, they don't need to reload because they're dead.
Yeah. One of the cutest aspects of it is you're able to take squigs that have loads of explosive tied to them, like a Wile E. Coyote style invention, that hop towards the enemy and blow up. Yeah,
I think a few of those took me out on a recent stream of Space Marine, and it wasn't fun. Every time you can hear them as well coming, you're like, "Oh god, here they come!" Boing, boing, boing.
Boom. You also then have in this kind of elite section Burner Boys, which are the kind of Death Skull specials ish. They're orcs that go into battle with acetylene torches, and they're just used to cut through heavy armor, be it on infantry or on vehicles. But what's brilliant is the kind of, the very focused acetylene torch flame comes out of a thing that they can flip up and down, so they can use it as a flamethrower as well. Which I think that's the best of both worlds, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
They can make their creme brulee and they can set you on fire. Versatile.
I'd like to cook you for dinner. Yeah. In terms of troops, you're looking at large squads of Ork boys. Those are just bog standard Ork troops, available in two different flavors, the Slugger Boy and the Shooter Boy. The Shooter Boy having a longer ranged kind of bolter style gun, and the Slugger Boys being kind of assault troops with the axes and pistols. You can have them both on foot, but you can have them mounted as well, in which case they become known as Truck Boys.
What?
They become
boys.
Oh, truck boys. Right. Okay, yeah, sorry. Comms a little bit.
It's a little bit laggy here. Yeah.
Truck.
I'm not going to tell you what kind of squigs they have. Anyway, moving on. You then kind of moving towards the kind of mechanized infantry style of thing. You get a lot of vehicles then that come along in kind of the fast attack section of the army list. So you get the war bikers. So these are massive motorcycles where instead of like pouches that you have like saddlebags at the back, you have two huge autocannons. So it used to be that in the game, when you were an orc on a war bike, you'd have to kind of take recoil into consideration when you were driving. So if you shot and you rolled a specific type of roll, your model would have to be adjusted 45 degrees one way or another, which I think is funny.
Oh no, now I'm looking this way.
You then, of course, get aircraft in the kind of fast attack section. So there's 3 different types of airplane you can field. You get the Dakajet,
for the Orks?
which is a kind of aircraft.
Fucking cool.
Yeah. So you get Dakajets, which are like the fighters, anti-fighter fighters or air superiority. You get a Blitzer bomber, which is very much like the Stuka from World War II. It's a dive bomber, basically. You then also get the excitingly called a burner bomber, which is an airplane that just drops napalm. That's all it does. And it's an anti-infantry.
One-trick pony does it really well.
Yeah. But then, of course, you get the Deathcopters, which are, as I said, Ork gyrocopters.
Yeah. Everybody's really impressed. Yeah.
It's a great name, but yeah. And finally, for heavy support, this is really where the orc weirdness shines. You get their various types of walker, so their equivalent of dreadnought, which is a death dread or death dread. You get a smaller...
A death dread or a death dread?
Yeah, one of the two, Kral. It can't be both.
No, I said death dread first, D-E-A-T-H, but it's actually spelled D-E-F-F. A death dread.
Oh, death or death. I see. Again, comms. Yeah.
Comms.
Trucker boys. What?
Truck boys. Yeah, what's wrong with truck boys?
Thai truck boys. Yeah.
Easy, Tiger. You think it's a boy. It's actually a truck. So the death dreads, you get kind of then...
Just because you do it with the truck doesn't mean you truck sexual.
What happens in Thailand stays in Thailand, right?
You mean
Well, you tell us when you go to Thailand, Ben.
You then get kind of the smaller version called the Kilocans, and these are mini dreadnoughts piloted by goblins, or Gretchen as they're called in 40k. You also then get, I think we touched on them last episode, the Gorkanaut and the Morkanaut, which are these enormous kind of waddling orc war machines that are personnel carriers. They're able to open up their kind of belly compartment and a load of orcs come piling out, which I think is hilarious.
It is.
Finally, you get then the various types of artillery, either kind of field pieces, field guns, usually called a mech gun. And the mech gun has an enormous kind of range of what it could be, up to and including a thing that fires bubbles of force field at people. And in older editions, what it would do is you would fire this cannon, it would completely surround the unit that it's targeted, and then that unit would just simply float away.
Amazing.
On a bubble.
That's so cute.
That's brilliant.
Love that.
But then this is where you...
Sorry, go on. No. You might even answer it. So go. Yeah.
The heavy support section, which is what I'm talking about, this is where you get also the flash gets and the looters. They're the ones with the bigger, heavier guns and are used to basically just exclusively range combat and snipe against enemy units.
Nice.
Doom divers. Do you get the equivalent of Doom divers in 40k?
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Unfortunately, I think yes, you get something called the shock attack gun.
Go on.
Shock attack gun not only has a great name, It's even better than its name. What it does is it's a mech-mounted weapon, so it's like one of the mechaniacs, the tech marines of the Ork world. Has this big, heavy, shoulder-mounted wormhole generator, and it creates a wormhole from the magazine of the weapon into a vehicle or an enemy of the opponent, or an infantry of the opponent. So what does it use as bullets, I hear you cry? It uses snotlings. It fires little tiny miniature greenskins at enemies. And in the very first edition of 40k, it is absolutely hilarious because it would fire an entire group of snotlings into a tank. And suddenly, you're driving along, shooting at orcs, and then all of a sudden, a lot of snotlings are in your tank mucking around. They're not really mucking around.
Running your trouser leg.
Because the wormhole goes through the warp and it's transparent. So as the snotlings are being fired down this tunnel, demons are trying to get at them. So they're absolutely terrified. And by the time they get into the tank, and in one instance, a Terminator armor suit, it's terrified, panicky snotlings that are liberally shitting themselves all over the place. It's absolutely hilarious.
Are they armed? Do they arm the snotlings?
No. But why would you need
just
to? You've got this absolutely panicky kind of mini horde of things with claws and excrement fired into an enclosed space.
That sounds great.
That's it's like a more of a prolonged attack than a kind of bullet or a shell of something, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. They're gonna just be pestering you for at least minutes. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and if it gets shot into Terminator armor as well, surely it's all just a little bit squishy. You just it's like a fucking squirrel running up your leg or something, up your trouser leg.
Shitting in your eye. Oh my god!
Oh god!
It's been described as these snotlings are so terrified that they eventually die from heart failure.
Wow! That's so cute. Wow.
And then, of course, in other games like Epic, you then see the kind of larger battle wagons and super tanks and the various other types of exciting, gigantic war machines that the Orks can create. But as I said last episode, interestingly, all of this technology is available to all of the different tribes of Orks in various levels because it's all coming from their shared collective genetic memory.
So cool.
That's cool.
Orks.
With the odd... Yay, love them. With the odd kind of, like I say, flash boys or flash gits or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I do love them more than the fancy orcs.
I feel like... Because up till recently, I think the Gene Stealers they'd taken it for you. They were your number one. Do you think the Orks have reclaimed that pole position?
Yeah. 100%. The boys. Yeah. I prefer the unstructured factions and races. Too many numbers to remember in the Imperium shit. Chapters, paragraphs, and thingies, sentences.
Just get in there and start
Marines.
Swiping and shooting
and looting
and shooting
and looting
and shitting and clawing and cardiac arresting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What would be your weapon of choice then, Kral, if you were an orc?
It's got to be that snotling messer-upper, hasn't it? What is it, the
shock attack gun?
Yeah, that's the one,
attack.
Brilliant.
That would be quite shocking, wouldn't it?
You
whoa,
think?
Shit. What's in my armor?
I love the idea of a driver or pilot getting out of a vehicle just head to toe in shit with a dead snotling hanging around its neck, just looking at his friends going, "Don't." I don't want to hear it.
I don't want to talk about
it. Amazing.
What are your feelings on the Orks? Are you still You don't care. They're not ordered enough for you. That's the difference between you, isn't it?
That is probably true.
You are the yin to my yang.
Yeah,
you are
exactly.
Just like, yeah.
I love a little bit more order and finesse, which I think is why the Eldari are always going to be there for me. But then I think the Imperium under that, or at least sections of the Imperium, like Sisters of Battle and whatnot. No, they're great fun. And it's nice to see that aspect of comedy that's kind of woven through all of fantasy in the old world making an appearance in 40k, because there aren't really any other races or factions in 40k that have that same kind of laughable design about them.
Don't take themselves seriously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of the kind of sadder things for me is that sense of humor is been written out of 40k in general. You just get moments of it. Now,
are the Orks a bit more serious now?
Yeah.
Are they a bit more mean and like grr?
Yes, the slapdash nature of them has gone. Really. They still have, as I say, you still see traces of it with things like the shock attack gun and the Mad Boys, which is a unit where you used to be able to roll on a table which gave the Mad Boys a mental condition, like one or more mental. So you had schizophrenic orcs.
Wow.
And unfortunately, if you roll badly, you could get a unit of catatonic orcs. They do
worse
nothing
than
for
useless.
The entire battle.
Jesus. But even with that seriousness, they've still got names like, Stabber, Shooter, Boys with a Z. It's kind of written in there. Like you can't fully get rid of that comedy aspect. Anyway, we got to wrap up. Anything else?
We got to wrap up.
Yeah.
All right, that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening. Details and imagery for the topics we've discussed in this podcast can be found on our website at layingdownthelore.com. We also have all our previous episodes on there, release schedules, and the aforementioned merchandise. Again, if you're keen to support the show, just click on the support us link, or the Quartermaster link, as it's now called, in the description, and give us all of your teeth. That's orc teeth. Don't send us teeth. We don't. That's weird. We'll be back again soon, displaying just how little Chris and I know, but how much Chris loves orcs. Maybe, but we're not going to be covering that in the next episode. Until then, goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Ciao. Bye.
Mwah.